Failure, it's a word that makes most of us uncomfortable. We spend so much of our lives trying to avoid it, fearing what it says about us, fearing what others will think. But what if I told you that failure isn't the enemy? What if failure is, in fact, the greatest teacher you will ever have? You see, failure is not a sign that you are weak or incapable. Failure is the moment when you find out how strong you really are. It is the moment when your character is tested and your resolve is forged. Failure is a signal, a clear, undeniable signal that you are pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, that you are growing and that you are daring to try. Here's the truth. Every success story is built on a foundation of failures. The difference is not in whether you fail, but in what you do after failure knocks you down. Do you let it break you, or do you let it build you? Turning failure into your biggest strength begins with a choice. The choice to see failure not as an end, but as a beginning. It starts with understanding that failure is feedback, raw and unfiltered. It tells you what didn't work, what needs to change, and where your blind spots are. If you listen closely, failure can guide you to your next breakthrough. Failure is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness, a mark of incompetence, or an indication that someone isn't good enough. Society tends to celebrate success and hide failure, creating a fear that can paralyze us from taking risks or trying new things. But this perspective is not only limiting, it's completely wrong. Failure is not a sign of weakness. Instead, it is one of the clearest signs that you are growing, pushing boundaries, and stepping out of your comfort zone. When you try something new, whether it's learning a skill, starting a business, or pursuing a dream, failure is almost inevitable. It means you are venturing into uncharted territory where success is not guaranteed. If you never fail, it usually means you are playing it safe, sticking to what you already know, and avoiding risks. Growth, on the other hand, happens when you challenge yourself, and challenges often come with setback. The fact that failure occurs means you are attempting something worthwhile and difficult, something that requires courage. Failure also teaches us lessons that success never can. When things don't go according to plan, you are forced to look closely at what happened and why. This process sharpens your understanding and improves your skills. If you view failure as a weakness, you shut down this opportunity to learn. But if you see it as a natural part of growth, every failure becomes a stepping stone toward improvement. The knowledge you gain through failure is practical, deeply personal, and hard-earned, making it a powerful tool for development. Moreover, failure builds resilience. Each time you fail and choose to keep moving forward, you strengthen your ability to handle adversity. This resilience becomes a kind of muscle that prepares you for bigger challenges ahead. If you treat failure as proof of weakness, you may give up too soon, convinced that you are not capable. But those who understand failure as a sign of growth realize that setbacks are temporary, and persistence is what eventually leads to success. The emotional experience of failure is uncomfortable, and that's precisely why it matters. Discomfort signals change, and change is a necessary part of growth. When you push yourself beyond familiar limits, you will inevitably face moments of doubt, frustration, and disappointment. But those moments are where transformation happens. By embracing failure, you accept the discomfort that comes with growth instead of running from it. This mindset shift allows you to develop courage, grit, and confidence that cannot be built any other way. It's important to remember that everyone who has achieved great things has experienced failure along the way. Their failures do not define them, their response to those failures does. Viewing failure as a sign of growth shifts your focus from avoiding mistakes to focusing on progress. You stop being afraid of falling and start valuing the effort you put in. It allows you to take responsibility for your journey and own the process of becoming better. In essence, failure signals that you are on the right path. It means you are learning, adapting, and evolving. Weakness lies not in failure itself, but in the fear of it, the refusal to try or the decision to quit when faced with obstacles. When you embrace failure as a natural and necessary part of growth, you open the door to endless possibilities. You become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the challenges ahead. So next time you fail, don't shrink back or feel defeated. Instead, recognize that failure is proof you are growing into a stronger, more capable version of yourself. It is a sign that you are alive, pushing limits and moving forward. And that is never weakness, it is true strength. Failure often feels like a dead end, a moment when everything seems to fall apart and progress grinds to halt. But if you step back and look closer, failure is actually one of the most valuable forms of feedback you can receive. It's a raw, honest signal from reality that something isn't working, and it offers a unique opportunity to learn, adjust, and grow. Instead of seeing failure as something to fear or avoid, it's important to recognize it as an essential part of the learning process that guides you toward improvement. When you fail, you receive clear information about what went wrong. Unlike success, which can sometimes mask hidden problems or cause complacency, failure exposes weaknesses, mistakes, or flawed assumptions that need attention. This feedback is often immediate and undeniable. It forces you to pause, reflect, and analyze your approach. What caused the failure? Was it a lack of preparation, poor timing, misunderstanding, or something else? These questions are crucial because they direct your focus toward areas where you can make meaningful changes. Without failure, feedback can be vague or misleading. When everything seems to be going well, it's easy to overlook small errors or ignore warning signs. But failure acts like a spotlight, highlighting the exact spots where improvement is needed. It helps you identify blind spots that may have gone unnoticed. These insights are invaluable because they allow you to course correct early, saving time and effort in the long run. Failure also provides feedback on your mindset and resilience. How you respond to failure reveals your capacity to handle setbacks, adapt to new challenges, and stay committed to your goals. If failure causes you to give up or lose confidence, it might signal a need to develop greater mental toughness or find better support systems. If you bounce back quickly and use failure as motivation, it shows you're building resilience. In this way, failure isn't just about external results, it also informs your internal growth and emotional strength. The other critical aspect of failure as feedback is that it encourages experimentation and innovation. When you try new ideas, failure is almost inevitable because innovation involves venturing into unknown territory. Each failure during this process tells you what doesn't work and helps refine your approach. Instead of seeing failure as a setback, innovators embrace it as a vital part of discovery. This feedback loop of trying, failing, learning, and adjusting leads to breakthroughs that wouldn't be possible without failure's honest input. Moreover, failure feedback fosters humility and self-awareness. It reminds you that no matter how skilled or knowledgeable you are, there is always room to learn and improve. This humility opens you up to new perspectives and ideas. It encourages you to seek advice, collaborate with others, and stay curious. Without failure, it's easy to fall into the trap of overconfidence, which can blind you to critical feedback and stunt your growth. Feedback from failure also challenges you to take responsibility. It's easy to blame external factors when things go wrong, but failure invites you to examine your own actions and decisions. This accountability is empowering because it puts you in control of your progress. When you accept failure as feedback, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start viewing yourself as an active participant in your development. Ultimately, failure's feedback is a gift because it pushes you closer to your goals. It provides clarity, sharpens your focus, and deepens your understanding. It shows you what needs to change so you can try again with better insight. Without this kind of honest input, progress is often slower and more uncertain. With it, you can move forward with confidence, knowing that each failure is a step toward eventual success. So instead of fearing failure, learn to welcome it as feedback, valuable, direct, and essential. When you change your relationship with failure in this way, you transform setbacks into stepping stones. You gain the wisdom to improve continuously and the courage to keep moving forward. Failure is not the end of the road, it is the compass that points you toward your true path. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, a sign of fragility or exposure that many people try to avoid at all costs. We live in a world that rewards confidence, control, and certainty. So showing vulnerability can feel risky. But when it comes to failure, vulnerability is actually one of the greatest sources of strength you can tap into. Embracing vulnerability allows you to transform failure from something that holds you back into a powerful catalyst for growth, connection, and resilience. When you fail, it's natural to want to hide that failure from others. We worry about judgment, criticism, or being perceived as less capable. This fear of exposure can lead to shame, denial, or avoidance. But by shutting down vulnerability, you miss the opportunity to learn openly and honestly from your experiences. Vulnerability invites you to lean into your imperfections and accept your humanity. It means acknowledging your setbacks without fear or shame and being willing to share those moments authentically. This openness creates space for true growth. When you embrace vulnerability, you give yourself permission to be honest with yourself about what happened and why. You stop pretending you have all the answers and start asking important questions. What could I have done differently? What did I learn? Where do I need support? This honest self-reflection is essential for turning failure into meaningful progress because it prevents you from repeating the same mistakes or hiding from difficult truths. Vulnerability also allows you to build stronger connections with others. When you share your failures openly, you invite empathy, understanding, and support. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with real, relatable experiences. Showing vulnerability breaks down barriers and encourages others to do the same. This mutual openness creates a supportive environment where growth is nurtured and resilience is strengthened collectively. Instead of feeling isolated in your failure, you become part of a community that lifts each other up. Additionally, vulnerability is a source of courage. It takes bravery to admit failure, to face your fears, and to stand exposed without a mask. This courage is transformative because it shifts your relationship with failure. Instead of fearing it as a threat, you see it as a challenge you are willing to confront. This mindset empowers you to take risks, try again, and innovate. Vulnerability becomes the foundation for resilience, the ability to recover, learn, and keep moving forward even when things don't go as planned. By embracing vulnerability, you also develop greater self-compassion. Failure can trigger harsh self-criticism, but vulnerability encourages kindness toward yourself. It helps you recognize that failure is a universal human experience, not a personal flaw. When you treat yourself with understanding rather than judgment, you create a safer inner environment for growth. This self-compassion reduces fear and increases motivation, allowing you to face challenges with an open heart. Moreover, vulnerability fosters creativity and innovation. When you're willing to be vulnerable, you allow yourself to experiment, take risks, and explore new possibilities without the fear of being perfect. This openness to uncertainty is where breakthroughs happen. You become more flexible, adaptable, and willing to learn from mistakes. Vulnerability helps you move beyond rigid thinking and embrace a mindset of continuous improvement. In essence, vulnerability transforms failure from a source of pain or shame into a source of power and opportunity. It shifts your perspective from hiding your mistakes to owning your journey. It turns setbacks into lessons, isolation into connection, fear into courage, and self-judgment into compassion. When you embrace vulnerability, you unlock your true potential and build the inner strength to thrive in the face of adversity. So rather than resisting vulnerability or trying to appear flawless, lean into it. Allow yourself to be open, honest, and human. Let vulnerability be the bridge that connects you to growth, resilience, and ultimate success. In that space, failure loses its power to defeat you and instead becomes a force that propels you forward with greater wisdom and strength. Resilience is the quiet strength that keeps you moving forward when life knocks you down. It's the ability to bounce back from setbacks, disappointments, and failures, not just to where you were before, but stronger and wiser. Resilience is not an innate talent reserved for a lucky few. It is a skill that anyone can develop with intention and practice. Understanding and embracing resilience is essential because setbacks are inevitable, but how you respond to them shapes your future more than the setbacks themselves. When you face a failure or a difficult challenge, the first instinct might be to retreat, to give up, or to feel overwhelmed. But resilience changes this narrative. It teaches you that failure is not the end, but rather a part of the journey. Each setback is an opportunity to learn, grow, and recalibrate. Resilience empowers you to accept that challenges will come, but they don't define you. What defines you is your response, your ability to get back up and keep moving forward despite obstacles. Building resilience starts with mindset. Resilient people see failures and setbacks as temporary and specific, rather than permanent and personal. Instead of thinking, I failed, so I'm a failure, resilient thinkers say, I failed this time, but I can learn and improve. This mindset allows you to distance your self-worth from the outcome and focus on growth and effort. It helps you view challenges as opportunities to build strength rather than threats to your identity. Another critical part of resilience is emotional regulation, the ability to manage your feelings and reactions when things go wrong. It's natural to feel disappointment, frustration, or sadness after a setback, but resilience involves acknowledging those emotions without letting them control your actions. Resilient people give themselves space to feel, then shift their focus to problem solving and moving forward. This balance between accepting emotions and taking action is what fuels recovery and progress. Resilience is also deeply connected to perseverance and persistence. It's the willingness to keep trying even when the path is tough or unclear. Sometimes bouncing back doesn't mean immediate success. It means committing to the process, learning from mistakes, and continuing to show up every day. This consistent effort builds momentum and confidence, helping you overcome barriers that once seemed insurmountable. Support systems play a significant role in strengthening resilience. Having people who believe in you, encourage you, and offer perspective can make a huge difference when you're facing setbacks. Resilience is not about going it alone. It's about knowing when to reach out, accept help, and draw strength from community. Sharing your struggles can lighten the load and provide new insights that propel you forward. Resilience also grows through reflection and learning. After a setback, taking the time to analyze what happened without judgment helps you extract valuable lessons: what worked, what didn't, what can be improved. This reflective practice turns failure into a constructive experience and prevents repeating the same mistakes. The knowledge gained from reflection deepens your understanding and prepares you better for future challenges. Physical and mental self-care are essential foundations for resilience. When you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, your ability to bounce back diminishes. Prioritizing rest, exercise, healthy habits, and mindfulness strengthens your overall capacity to cope with adversity. Resilience isn't just a mental skill. It's a holistic approach that requires nurturing your whole self. Ultimately, resilience is the key that transforms setbacks into stepping stones. It shifts the focus from what went wrong to what can be done next. Resilient individuals don't let failure or hardship define their story. They define it through their determination, courage, and ability to keep moving forward. The strength you build through resilience prepares you not only for future challenges, but also for a life lived with confidence and purpose. So when life throws you off balance, remember that resilience is within your reach. It's the force that helps you rise after every fall, stronger, smarter, and more ready than ever to pursue your goals. Embrace resilience, nurture it, and watch how it transforms your setbacks into powerful comebacks. Failure can feel discouraging and disheartening, especially when it seems like your efforts aren't leading to the results you want. But when you connect failure to your deeper purpose, your why, it transforms from a mere obstacle into a meaningful part of your journey. Your why is the core reason you do what you do. It's the driving force behind your actions, the reason you get up every morning and push forward. When failure aligns with that deeper purpose, it stops being just a setback and instead becomes a powerful teacher and motivator. And having a clear why gives failure context. Without purpose, failure can feel random and personal, making it easy to lose motivation or question your abilities. But when you tie your experiences, including failures, back to a meaningful purpose, they gain significance. You start to see failure not as a sign that you should quit, but as a necessary step toward fulfilling something greater. This perspective shift changes the way you interpret challenges and hardships, allowing you to maintain focus and perseverance even in the face of adversity. Your why acts like a compass, guiding you through uncertainty. When you encounter failure, it can be tempting to get lost in frustration or doubt. But purpose keeps you anchored. It reminds you why you started in the first place and what you ultimately want to achieve. This clarity helps you avoid getting derailed by temporary setbacks because your focus is on the bigger picture, the long-term vision that failure cannot erase. Connecting failure to your why also fuels resilience. When your purpose is strong, failure doesn't break your spirit, it strengthens your commitment. You begin to view each failure as feedback that helps refine your approach and brings you closer to your goal. Instead of feeling defeated, you become curious. What can I learn from this? How can this experience help me grow? This curiosity drives you to keep going, to try again with new insights and renewed energy. Purpose also gives your efforts meaning beyond just personal success. When you're wise about serving others, creating impact, or contributing to something larger than yourself, failure becomes part of a bigger story. Your struggles and setbacks are woven into a narrative of growth, contribution, and purpose-driven progress. This broader perspective helps you endure hardship with grace and motivation because you're not just chasing a result, you're living your values and making a difference. Moreover, when you connect failure to your deeper purpose, you develop greater self-awareness and authenticity. You begin to understand what truly matters to you, what drives you beyond external validation or short-term gains. This alignment between actions and values creates a sense of fulfillment that is not shaken by failures. You become more grounded and confident, knowing that your efforts reflect your true self and that setbacks are part of an authentic journey. Your why also empowers you to take risks and embrace challenges. When your purpose is clear, fear of failure diminishes because you understand that even if you stumble, the journey itself is valuable. You're willing to step into discomfort, try new things, and push boundaries because the potential reward, the fulfillment of your purpose, is worth it. This courage to take risks is often what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who remain stuck in fear and hesitation. Finally, connecting failure to your why inspires others. When people see you persevere through difficulties with purpose and passion, it creates a ripple effect. Your story becomes a source of inspiration and hope, showing that failure is not a dead end, but a powerful part of meaningful progress. By living your purpose openly and honestly, you invite others to do the same, fostering a community of resilience and growth. In the end, failure is not separate from your purpose, it is part of it. When you connect your setbacks to your deeper why, you transform failure from a barrier into a bridge. It becomes a vital piece of the path you're walking, guiding you, teaching you, and strengthening you. With purpose as your foundation, failure loses its power to stop you and instead becomes a powerful force that pushes you closer to the life and impact you are meant to create. Strength is often misunderstood as an unshakable force, something that means never falling, never making mistakes, and always appearing flawless. But true strength doesn't come from avoiding failure or setbacks. It comes from the ability to rise each time you fall, to get back up with determination, and to keep moving forward despite the challenges. Strength is not about perfection. It's about perseverance and courage in the face of adversity. Avoiding failure might feel like the safest route. It's tempting to stay within the comfort zone, to play it safe and protect yourself from the risk of disappointment or pain. But avoiding failure means avoiding growth. When you refuse to take risks or try new things because you fear failure, you limit your potential. You miss out on opportunities to learn, innovate, and discover what you're truly capable of. Strength, then, is found not in playing it safe, but in embracing the possibility of failure and being willing to face it head on. Rising after failure is where real growth happens. When you fail, you are presented with a choice: to stay down, to let failure define you, or to stand back up and keep going. Choosing to rise requires resilience, a mental toughness that can be cultivated through practice. Each time you overcome a setback, your resilience strengthens. You build confidence in your ability to navigate difficulty and emerge stronger on the other side. The process of rising after failure also builds character. It teaches you humility by reminding you that you are human and that mistakes are part of life. It fosters patience, as recovery and progress often take time. And it cultivates empathy, because experiencing failure yourself makes you more understanding and supportive of others when they face their own struggles. This deeper self-awareness and compassion are marks of true strength. Another important aspect is mindset. Strengthful individuals don't view failure as a reflection of their worth or ability. Instead, they see it as temporary, situational, and a chance to learn. This growth mindset is essential because it changes the way failure is experienced. Rather than a defeat, failure becomes a lesson, a guide that points you toward what needs to change or improve. Rising after failure is then not just an act of recovery, but an intentional step toward becoming better. It's also worth noting that rising after failure often requires asking for help. Strength isn't about doing everything alone or pretending you have all the answers. Sometimes it means being vulnerable, reaching out, and accepting support. This openness enhances your capacity to recover and grow, showing that true strength includes knowing when and how to lean on others. Importantly, the stories of the most successful and influential people are filled with examples of failure followed by rising stronger. Their strength is not in having avoided failure, but in having faced it repeatedly and chosen to persist. This pattern reveals a universal truth. Strength is forged through experience, especially the hard experiences that test your resolve. Moreover, rising after failure builds hope and motivation. Each time you overcome a setback, you prove to yourself that failure is not the end. This creates a positive cycle where setbacks become less frightening and more manageable. You gain momentum, knowing that even if you stumble, you have the power to recover. This sense of hope propels you forward with greater courage and enthusiasm. Finally, your strength is a message to the world. When you rise after failure, you inspire others to do the same. Your actions demonstrate that failure does not have to be a stopping point, but can be a launching pad for growth. You show that strength is accessible to everyone, not just a select few, and that it comes from persistence, courage, and resilience. In the end, strength is not about avoiding failure. It is about rising after failure. It's about facing challenges with courage, learning from setbacks, and continuing the journey with determination. True strength shines brightest in the moments when you choose to stand back up and move forward, no matter how many times you fall. That is where your greatest power lies.